Kenya has never been in this situation ever. And therefore, the questions you're asking, which are legal-based, are a very important event for today and for precedents. And therefore, even if we are rushing to go to substantive matters, those substantive matters can still be defeated by not doing what is actually stipulated, technical. Therefore, as we give Senator Faki, also Lucy, note this scenario, as DK is putting, because we've never been here before. And therefore, the only DORA we have amended was upwards, not downwards. So this is unprecedented. Supposing now we have appropriations bill at 3.88 trillion, but it's DORA inside, or for lack of a better, the shareable revenue is 380. That scenario as it is in Kenya today. Now, supposing we actually amend or conform with the Senate's request, and we pass an amended version from what we passed in the National Assembly, and therefore a figure other than 380, which is in the appropriations bill. I hope you are understanding. What would happen if the National Assembly, in the entire of this financial year, does not consider any appropriation, any supplementary budget? What would happen? That's one. On the same, just on the same follow-up the members are doing. Supposing we have any figure like 390 or whichever, we are made now as mediation, we have said it is 395, for example. 395 starts and actually passes in the houses. But then there is a CARA. Houses do not do that. And therefore CARA reflects 380. And then there is appropriations bill, which there is no supplementary. I want us, please guide us on what would happen. What would the National Treasury use to disperse the money in that kind of a situation?
Thank you, Chair. I have I've sat here and listened to both chairs discuss this matter. And I'm wondering whether this is meant to be a class to discuss the legalese pertaining to how we are going to share revenues vertically or horizontally. And Chair Ndindi Nyoro, my point is very simple. This is our argument as the Senate. We have left you with 80%, 85% of the revenue. You want to come and discuss our 15% and tell me legally that is what we are fighting about. We are not. We deserve more if this thing, by the way, is going to collapse. With all these many stories and the cul-de-sacs and it's going to be CARA and DORA, forget about that. The money we are talking about is 15% of shareable revenue out of 100%, where the national government has kept 85%. Nothing more, nothing less.
My understanding of what necessitated this amendment was an issue of shortfall. It was an issue of revenue shortfall nationally. So I wanted to hear from the National Assembly Council, Legal Council, what is our interpretation of what is currently in DORA number 7 of 2024? That clause for me is very important. That's section 5. I just want to hear the understanding, because I know we are trying to dodge from it, but I think that for me it's so clear that in the event that we don't agree here, that section comes to force in the sense that it's an act of parliament that then indicates that whatever the shortfall is must just be borne by the national government. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, thank you, co-chairs. I think even as we discuss there's something we must also have behind our minds. And I want to repeat what I said the other day. Is the issue of the Finance Bill 2024. You know, that bill was withdrawn, or it collapsed. And actually that is the genesis of what we are doing. And honorable members, I want to remind you that as a result of that, the National Assembly to pass very quickly what we call the Supplementary Appropriation Act to factor in some of those shortfalls. And the question we should be asking ourselves is, I think it's a very simple question, Mr. Chairman, because you know, Clause 5 of the current Act, Division of Revenue Act, says any shortfall in revenue collection will be borne by the national government. That's what it says. And that's why in this amendment, we are amending that clause and changing the schedules to accommodate the shortfall. So if we agree that we are not able to collect the money we had projected to collect, to me the simple question is, should that shortfall be taken fully by the national government, 100%, even when the proposed finance bill could not see the end of the day, and we're not going to collect that money? So if we agree the national government takes over the share of the shortfall, then I think we can close this meeting and say, let's move on. But we were saying, if you analyze the figures, it was 345 billion. The national government has already taken 325 billion of that shortfall. And the counties have been asked, since this is a unique year, can you allow we take only 20 billion out of that shortfall, and come next financial year, we'll go back to our normal life, because I think we'll have a finance bill. So if we sort out that issue, then I think we'll be making progress. But if the senators believe by taking 20 billion in a unique year out of the county governments, we will be demonstrating that we have no interest of the counties, then that's the question. But I think we have all said, every Kenyan knows devolution is doing a good job all over the country. We all come from counties. We have said we want to support devolution. But in a unique year, do we just close our eyes and say this is a normal year like the other years? Thank you, Mr.
Jemima, as you respond to that, a supplementary question asked by Honorable Makaribul. What actually, just for the benefit of members, finance bill has, the revenue raising measures then have ramifications to why we are seated here. Procedurally, what ought to have passed first between the revenue raising measures and the appropriation?
Definitely, Chair. From a practical perspective, even in my own household, I collect the money and then I say this one is for school fees, this is for rent. So there's always an argument that the finance bill, you first have collected the money, you pass the finance bill, then you proceed to appropriation. But Chair, you know, we cannot debunk what the House already did. Once the House has made a decision, we are guided by the decision of the House. To note as a question by Senator Okech, Chair, and that's why I was saying, if we answer the question of quantum, then the question of Clause 5 falls into place. And this is the reason, Chair. The division of revenue, generally for every financial year, says the shortfall is borne by the national government. We find ourselves in unprecedented circumstances where, because of the rejection of the finance bill, we had a shortfall, which necessitated budget cuts in the national government and the county government. That's what informed Clause 5. But Chair, I don't want to anticipate debate. What the committee can decide is, if you retained it in the bill, where you say it's borne by the national government. Remember, this is a division of revenue amendment bill. You've already, assuming you agree 380 or 385, whichever, I'm just using scenario, Chair. If you retain that it shall still be borne by the national government, what would be the effect of that, Chair? That would be the question. Would it be harmful? And I would want my counterpart from the Senate to come in. And that's why I didn't want to engage in that debate, because once we agree on the quantum, then automatically now you come and say, shortfall. But you cannot argue on the question of shortfall. Maybe you'll even agree on 380. Maybe you'll even agree on 400, Chair. So on that one, I don't want to anticipate debate, but it would be a question that would have to determine if you retained it as it is in each, the way it reads in Clause 5 of every bill, will there be any harm? Because remember, you've already effected the amendment, Chair.
In law, there's no strict answer to anything until and unless the court. There are two ways of doing this. One way is to take the literal and easy route, I think, as a committee. And I think when we alluded to this, we can, agree and say, okay, we go with the 400, or we reduce it slightly to like 390 or whatever, or 395 for argument's sake. That route becomes very easy if the Houses of Parliament are persuaded and we get the numbers. But if they're not persuaded, it becomes a very tricky route. I think it would have legal landmines. And I think it would be the easier route for this committee. But it would be reckless of this committee to take that route unless we are sure that we'll get the numbers. That's my take, okay?